Good afternoon and welcome to the live webinar on My Mission Admission, your gateway to your dream career, course, and college. Today, we have a very interesting topic to interact on, a very informative or rather new topic to interact upon. Today, the topic of our webinar is Big Data Analytics. And to put some light on this very interesting topic, we have with us very eminent faculty from Amrita School of Engineering, Bangalore, Miss Srividya. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very good, Guneet.
Good to have you with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure too to address the young minds.
All right. So, Miss Srividya here, she's a graduate in computer science and engineering and is pursuing her post-graduation in the same. So, ma'am, we're going to talk about, big words today. So, as I can see, this big data analytics is something really seems to be really important and interesting. So, I'll just give a brief outline to our audience here. We'll talk about what is big data analytics, what is the need to move towards big data, and what are the trends and applications involved, what is structured and unstructured data. So we'll be talking about these questions right away with ma'am. So ma'am, shall we start?
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
All
yes.
right. So let us talk first about what exactly is big data analytics.
So since I'm addressing the young minds, I would first start with what exactly database is and then move on to tell them what exactly a big data is. So the very first example I would like to talk about is visiting any supermarket. So when you go to a supermarket, you pick up some things, you go to a billing counter, you see a person sitting in the cash trying to just read the barcode scanner and try to bill out the amount. So that is a database application. So now what happens here is that the items code, that's the barcode, the item code plus the price of that particular item, and all these data regarding the item is getting stored in a particular database. And the moment a barcode scanner reads the particular code, what happens is the database table plus this barcode scanned code are being compared to see to it they are the same product, and the quantity is entered by the shopkeeper or say the cashier, and then the billing is being done. So here what happens is we are trying to access the data that is already existing, that is already fed in. And the amount of data, the magnitude of data that we consider here is much less when we compare to what is known as the big data. Big data, the very name itself is telling us that it is the data is going to be big, the magnitude of data is going to be huge. So basically,
Right.
what happens in a big data is here we talk about, if I take up another example of a big data, all the data that we consider in Amazon or probably a Facebook, all these are based on what is known as big data, where a tremendous amount of data are being collected. And once a big data has been collected, the next job becomes the analysis of that. So I'll talk about the analysis as we proceed with the talk.
Right, ma'am. Right. So, what are the reasons that we need to move to big data? Why?
Uh,
Why big data?
uh, as the trend talks about now, big data, the whole world is with data. Everybody requires data. If I take up a very small example of buying a mobile phone, everybody's crazy about mobile phones, and everybody's fascinated about the various features that is associated with a phone, starting off with the camera to WhatsApp and all the applications associated with a mobile and all the features associated with mobile phone. So the first thing any person of late does is to check for a particular product, the review of a particular product in the website. It could be Amazon or Flipkart. They go for the reviews. This is one of the main reasons why a big data is required, which means that all the people who are existing now of late are very much dependent on the data that is already stored somewhere. So this
Right.
somewhere is nothing but the data that is stored by each of the organizations. Like I always, like I just now told you regarding Amazon or Flipkart, they
Right.
collect this people review or the feedback for the reasons that they can give an opinion to the other customers who are going to buy that particular product for the first time.
Okay. 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 So you were just going to talk about the analysis. So how to go about that? How is the analysis done?
If we talk about the analysis, since I'm working in an institution here, in a academic institution, I would like to again take up an example and tell you what exactly analysis is and how exactly an analysis happens in a academic institution. Say, for example, our institution, Amrita, it started in the year 2002 in Bangalore campus, and we are in 2016 now. So, which means that we have been collecting information of student right from 2002 to 2016, which means that we have a tremendous amount of data over a period of 14 years. And let us say there is some governance body which visits our college. We have already got an accreditation of A from the NAC Council. So these accreditation council, they visit our campus every 5 years. So which means that they collect the information of 5 years. Are all the areas are being considered, starting from the academics to hostel to facilities to the labs, library. Every domain is being inspected. So over this 5 years, the data needs to be collected. So what happens in a big data is, let us say 5 years before there was nothing like databases. Let us assume that we had the conventional file processing system. So what happens in a big in analysis part is that we need to connect to different kinds of databases. We've got file processing system, and there is a database management system. So all the data are collected together, they have been integrated, and once the integration is done, they may be of different forms. So they need to be transformed into a standard format. So only after it has been transformed into a standard format, only then can the data be analyzed for a particular topic. Now, say for example, the governance body would like to see the number of or the increase in the number of hostlers in the college hostel. So in that case, over the 5 years, they'll only look at that particular domain, the number of hostlers in the particular institution. They would sideline the other topics like the number of faculties or the other facilities. So only that particular topic is being filtered out from the existing one. So this what happens in an extraction. And once the data has been extracted, the next process that goes into this is the analysis part. So once the analysis starts, the the knowledge that we are trying to gain out of this number of hostlers, that will be represented in the form of a graph, and this graph is used to analyze a particular kind of knowledge. Now in case we see a bar which is in case we see a graph with a rising bars, it means that over a period of years the number of hostlers in this particular institution is increasing. So this is a kind of analysis we could do from the previous history. And where did we get this previous history from? Because of the database, or because of the big data that we've got already stored. So this is one of the reasons why one goes for any organization. I just gave you an example of an educational institution. So is the case
Right.
in any business organizations.
All right. So, ma'am, you were just talking about database management. Can you just briefly talk about that? Because the students are still will be in 12th class maybe, so they
Exactly,
need to
exactly.
know a little bit, yeah,
Yes,
basics
yes,
about
yes.
database management.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, database management system. If I have to tell you in a nutshell, or if I have to tell you in a, this is how I start my database classes in the first class of my database course usually starts with this, asking students what exactly data is, what exactly database is, and what exactly database management system is. Now, if I take up the example of, if I have to tell you what exactly data is, any random fact that you see around you is a data. I take up a book, that's a data. I take the name of the author, that is a data. I take up probably a computer and I say I speak about its memory, that's again a data. So all these are facts that are being collected, so this becomes a data. Now, when I say database is something which is interrelated, the data which are interrelated. I will definitely not be able to connect a particular, let us say I go to a shopping mall and I look for a book, and I'm trying to buy some clothes for myself. So I will definitely not relate an author's name, which is a data, as I told you. An author's name, let us say, I'll talk about silver sheets. So there is silver sheets, and there is a book, cloth which I buy, let us say some kurta. I will not definitely not be able to relate the author and the kurta along with it. They are something which are not related. But when I
Right.
say the fundamentals of databases, and I say silver charts, there is a connection between the author and there is a book. So this becomes a database wherein I'm trying to collect, organize the data based on their association. So this becomes a database. And when I talk about database management system, what happens here is you have a particular software to manage these databases that we have collected. And again, when I say management, I could need probably adding some data into my table. It could be deleting some data into my data from my table. It could be some kind of modification that happens. Any example that you take up in a day-to-day life is a database application, starting off with the railway reservation system to bus reservation to airlines to hospital. Everything that you name it has a database in it.
Right, right, right. That's really interesting. So, ma'am, you had just talked about some software. So, like, do we need to know about the softwares that are involved in database management?
Definitely, there is Oracle database management system. That is one of the widely used softwares for database. And since we are addressing the beginners, you're always trained in database with respect to Oracle only. That's how beginners are taught with.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes.
That's great. Ma'am, the next thing that comes to our mind is what is structured and unstructured data?
Now, this is again beyond a little beyond a database management system, but since you have asked, let me just touch upon that. The structured data is wherein you have a particular format of how exactly you're storing your data. Say, for example, if I talk about a library, I visit my library daily. I go to the college library. So there, what happens is I have when I try to issue a book, I take a book from the library and go to the counter to get it issued in my name. So what happens there is the librarian there, he enters the name of the book, the number that is assigned to the book, and it also says to whom this has been assigned, to whom is this book getting issued to. So which means that I have a tabular form here wherein all the data are being stored in the form of rows and columns. So which means that there is a proper structure of how a data can be stored. So this becomes a structured data. Whereas in unstructured data, what happens is the data will not be in a structured form, or rather, it doesn't have a definite shape or a model. The best examples is you a person giving a feedback or a kind of review that you read of late in the any of the shopping websites, online shopping websites. You see a lot of reviews that you read. Those are not something which is structured. They
Structured,
don't have
right.
a definite form. Yeah.
Great. That's great, ma'am. You are really giving great examples. So, what else, we need to know about this big data analytics, and what else do we know about the basics of this? What else will help the students?
uh, since we are talking about the big data and the databases to the ones who are just going to enter the college, so I would rather stress on databases rather than on big data, because the databases is something which they have to know as a prerequisite for a big data. Unless they understand what is databases, a big data would be something which they would be able to extend from databases. And
Right.
yes. So, and with regard to a big data analysis, there are many courses also which is upcoming and which is very much in trend, because all the organizations of late are working on big data. And currently, our institution is also working on research areas with respect to big data. There is a machine learning lab that is set up which works on the sentimental analysis. Now, sentimental analysis is again something which is which we are working on a big data. So I feel the database is something which the students have to know to understand what exactly big data is and work on that.
Right, right, ma'am. So, ma'am, is cloud storage also, example of a big data?
Yes, yes, yes. It is. It is. It is one of the examples of big data.
So, is it
You can
like,
store on cloud. Yes.
so okay, so it comes under structured or unstructured? How is it?
Again, there are various ways in which you can store on cloud.
Okay, okay. So, cloud is something that we also can access.
Again, your organization has to probably lease it out for some. It is something which is paid and collected.
Okay, 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 okay. Great. This is something really upcoming, I believe.
It is. It is definitely yes.
So, can you give us, ma'am, some more examples of big data analytics? I'm sure students will be more interested in seeing the future ahead. What really is going to be there. You know.
Yeah. Yes, yes. I would like to talk about one of the projects that our research lab, one of the research labs in Amrita are doing. It is called Sentimental Analysis, where we are working on the live data that has been streamed from the Facebook as well as the Twitter and Amazon. So, what is happening here is, let us say, a particular product. Our lab has already worked on mobile phones. These mobile phones, once it is bought, there are many people, various customers who give their review, their feedback. It could be positive, it could be negative. Sometimes they're negative but post it as positive, which sounds with a sarcasm. So these are something, reviews which are given by the customers. So now what happens in the sentimental analysis is, we take out these, extract these keywords from their reviews that is given in a form of sentence, and we take out what is positive. We first have to divide it into what is positive, what is negative, and what is sarcasm, or probably what they mean is different and what they write is different. So in such cases, we first try to group them accordingly, and then based on this, the number of counts we've got in positive or negative or the otherwise, they are going to generate a kind of representation. It could be in the form of a dashboard, or it could be in the form of a graph. So all these are something which is required. At the end of the day, what happens is, a new customer who wants to buy that particular product will definitely not go through the hundreds or even thousands of reviews that is lined up there. He would only go for that particular representation of the graph, which will immediately give him the data of whether he has to go for a particular product or not. He can make
Okay.
his decision based on that particular report.
So, like for example, the products that we buy online, for example, or the places we'll go to visit to eat. So, the reviews that are given there are based on the system, as I understand.
That's the input that they have. What we get to see right now are various reviews given by many people. We'll
Right.
not be able to see a summarized review. If you notice, any product that you see, very few websites are the ones which give you a summarized data whether it is good or bad. So,
Right.
what
Right.
our research lab is working on are various algorithms which would summarize it correctly. See, in any time, even for that matter, you or me, if you try to buy a product, there will be thousands or 2,000 reviews. But
Right.
I'm very sure none of us will go through the thousand. I wonder if we'll go
Absolutely.
beyond 10 reviews also. So it
Exactly.
is
We don't.
always better if we have a summarized view of what is. It could be possible that the first 10 may be positive, and there would be some reviews which are genuine at the beginning, which we may not, or which we may overlook. So in such cases, it is always better to have a summarized view so that we can make our decisions accordingly.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
our lab is working on that, to have an algorithm based on that. And in fact, they've already worked on the Twitter, and the paper has already been accepted by the IEEE.
Okay, okay, that's great, ma'am. That's great. So I see, big data analytics coming in a big way and, really expanding.
Yeah.
And your college is doing a great work about it. So
Yes.
you have told a little bit about your college. So let me ask you something more. What is the, admission criteria, how to get there, what kind of, eligibility is required?
Yes. The student has to complete his 12th standard, or say here we call it pre-degree course or a pre-university course of 2 years. And once he finishes it, he or she has to see to it that he scores at least 60% in physics, maths, and chemistry individually. That is what is required. I repeat on that. It is physics, maths, and chemistry, 60% individually. And he also have to take up an Amrita entrance exam, and this is which has been conducted all over, and a ranking has been given to all the students. And based on this ranking, a counseling session has been held across the three campuses. Since we are talking about the engineering college, I'm in the engineering college, so all the
Right.
three campuses are connected together, and the counseling happens parallelly. And the counseling is totally based on what the student scores for the Amrita entrance exam.
Okay, okay. So entrance exam is conducted only in Bangalore, or is it
No,
conducted?
no, it is all over India. It's all over India.
It's all
Almost
over India.
150 centers is what we have.
Okay,
We
okay.
also
So
have
you,
online tests.
okay, okay. So do you have some kind of forms?
Yes, the forms will be distributed from the month of February.
Oh, right,
It's when
all
they
right.
start issuing the application forms, and once it is filled, and it is usually in the month of April that the exams, Amrita entrance exams, are being conducted.
Okay, okay.
17th, 18th, and 19th, to be very precise.
All right. So it's great, ma'am. We have learned, I'm sure the audience has learned a lot about big data analytics, because I surely have learned a lot about that. And thank you for telling us about the basics first. That is really very important, because every time you do a new thing or a bigger thing, you need to have a correct knowledge of the basics. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
And you being a faculty and a lecturer there must be knowing this so well, because the students, they might tend to forget the basics, so this is really important that you touched upon.
Yes. So
Yeah.
again, I think I would stress on the point that it is databases which is required to understand big data very well. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. It has been great talking to you, and I'm sure our audience would have been benefited from this.
So thank
I
you so
thank
much.
the audience also for taking out time on viewing this, and thank you so much, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Guneet. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the audience, please hook on more, and you can look on more topics and webinars on our site, www.mymissionadmission.com. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.